was in the music there. I was in the music. I didn't realise that the video had finished. I was enjoying the music. So, hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. And yeah, I thought I'd have some livelier music tonight because we've got things to celebrate, or I have anyway, got things to celebrate. These election results, for me anyway, are good, in my opinion, are good. So he's gone. So the title, of course, of this was "Will Andrew Snowden hang on to his job?" And I'm gonna look through the election results, and of course we know now he did not hang on to his job. So he's gone. Adios, Andrew. Adios. He is no more the police commissioner. You know, maybe he realizes now the consequences of his actions. He's been the police commissioner for 4 years or whatever. He just, his Twitter feed, I still can't get over his Twitter feed. I mean, I quite miss it. I wonder if we'll still get, because it's his personal Twitter feed, and it's his son Walter's birthday tomorrow. He says he's doing a barbecue. So, but that's what he's done all the way through this, where he's been the police and crime commissioner, a very serious job. At the end of the day, it's a serious job. He's not a YouTuber, he's not an influencer, he's not a bloody, clown, or not supposed to be a clown. But hey! Sorry. All the neighbours are outside, the chihuahua's outside. She's gonna bark because they're all out there talking at the top of the voice. So you might hear a little bit of shouting from me, because unfortunately that's the only thing that works with Tia. So yeah, here we are. What's going to happen? Will the new crime commissioner be any better than Mr. Snowden? We can only hope he is. So we are going to have a little look at the new one, who actually is sort of the old one, because the guy who has now taken the crime commissioner role from Andrew, he was the previous crime commissioner. And he lost his role sort of during the, Mr. Snowden sort of won the crime commissioner role in the Boris Johnson landslide and all the Brexit thing, and where people in the Red Wall were voting for Conservative that had never voted Conservative before, and all this sort of thing. I bet they were sorry after, but anyway, yeah. So we've got the same crime commissioner who'd been crime commissioner for quite a while, the Labour guy. He's back. He's won again, and he's going to retake over the role. So we will be having a little look at him. I don't know if he's any good, or do you just feel that he can't really be worse, but who knows? But so let's have a look first of all at Mr. Snowden. Oh, let me just say hello actually to everybody first. Hey Chumba, hi Ocean, hi David. Sorry, hi Rio. Sorry, my head's just gone completely with they're honestly my neighbours. They just talk. They always have to talk right outside my house, and they always have to start talking at about 8 o'clock, just as I'm about to go live, and then the chihuahua starts barking. Sorry, David, I know you're a chihuahua person, but this chihuahua never stops yapping. And then my big Tia, she gets sort of all stressed out by it. And your head just goes. But anyway, so let's have a look what Mr. Snowden had to say on his Twitter, because of course he had to put it on Twitter. So he said, "Thank you to everyone who voted and supported me across Lancashire, but today was not our day. I am proud of my record as Commissioner, but I could not have done it without the work of so many amazing officers and staff in the constabulary, whose bravery and service is inspiring." Let's have a look.
Honour to serve the public in. Hi, I just wanted to take this time to thank every single person who has campaigned and who has voted for me to be Police and Crime Commissioner. Today wasn't our day. Today's been a difficult day for the Conservative Party, but equally we can hold our heads up high that we stunted the Labour swing across Lancashire here. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to every police officer.
We stunted the Labour swing across Lancashire here. Well, not really, because you just lost. Oh, look, he's got his rosette on. You just lost. So how did you stunt the Labour swing? He would never have been Crime Commissioner except for Brexit and all that with Boris Johnson, etc. And, you know, it's a shame because it's probably put Lancashire back a little bit, you know, because he's you know what I think of him, he's one of those sort of just politicians. It's just in it for the money. Oh, you miss his 80-odd thousand a year salary and his expenses. Wonder what he'll do now. Well, he won't go working in McDonald's, that's for sure.
And member of staff, your bravery, your selfless sacrifice has been a privilege to witness whilst I've been Commissioner, and it has been an honour to serve the public in this role. But for now, I've always said, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a dad, and it's my son's second birthday tomorrow. So my immediate priority after this count is to go get ready to barbecue for Walter's birthday in the rain tomorrow in Lancashire. So thank you to me for everyone's support and help over the last 3 years, everyone who voted for me. And I am sure with this rosette on, I'll be back soon.
So he said, thank you to me. Thank you to me, he said. Let's listen to it again. The thing is, you know, he always just looks drunk to me or drugged up or something. But let's have a look. Let's just listen again. He said, thank you to me.
Hi, I just wanted to take this time to thank every single person who has campaigned and who has voted for me to be Police and Crime Commissioner. Today wasn't our day. Today's been a difficult day for the Conservative Party, but equally we can hold our heads up high that we stunted the Labour swing across Lancashire here. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to every police officer and member of staff. Your bravery, your selfless sacrifice has been a privilege to witness whilst I've been Commissioner, and it has been an honour to serve the public in this role. But for now, I've always said, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a dad, and it's my son's second birthday tomorrow. So my immediate priority after this count is to go get ready to barbecue for Walter's birthday in the rain tomorrow in Lancashire. So thank you to me for everyone's support and help over the last 3 years, everyone who voted for me. And I am sure with this rosette on, I'll be back soon.
Thank you to me, he says. Yeah. So, well, I hope he doesn't stop tweeting because I'll miss his posts. You know, I'll just miss his... he has got a German Shepherd. I'll say one thing for him, he's got a German Shepherd. So, you know, normally I quite like people who have German Shepherds, but there you go. But I will miss his food posts. Look, even when he was out canvassing, he had to be eating something. You know, I'm surprised he's so skinny because all he seems to do is eat. All these posts are about, you know, food. He puts his son, his wife on all these. So I don't feel bad about showing these because he shows them publicly on his Twitter. All these posts are about food, eating, wine, steak. You know, maybe he's realizing now that that isn't what, you know, maybe his personal Twitter account. But when you're the police crime commissioner on 80 odd grand a year, maybe he's, oh, I mean, what a knob. I mean, look, I mean, really? He wouldn't know what to do. You know, I know, was he trying to look as if he's some sort of action man or something? He wouldn't know what to do in a war, would he? What would he do without his red wine and his steak and his curry nights? So here somebody actually officially complained that I put a picture on my personal account of us having steak for tea as a treat. So here's another with wine we brought back from France last year. Don't ever let the Twitter trolls beat you. He's just totally oblivious, isn't he? He doesn't understand that, yes, if he wants to have steak for dinner, great, lovely that he can do that. Lovely that he can go to France and bring back wine. And in the meantime, because of his government, children are starving and families can't even put food on the table. But he just doesn't get it. If he wasn't like police crime commissioner and, a politician, basically he is a politician, then yeah, of course he can do that, put all these things on his Twitter if he wants to. But he just doesn't see the how that might wind people up. He doesn't understand how it might wind people up. How can he not see that? So he's just like Rishi Sunak's another one, just oblivious because they're just living in their little rich bubble. He was on there showing that he'd done, got a new kitchen, got this, got that. And then the next minute he was on there asking for donations for his campaign. Oh, sorry, Andrew. You're just a knob. I'm sorry, you are, because if you cannot see how that might wind people up because of the position you're in, you're not Joe Bloggs up the road. You were the police crime commissioner, and now you're not. Now you could have maybe stayed and been the police crime commissioner for another 4 years. Maybe if you would have been a bit more serious in your role, a bit more, professional in your role, maybe you might have won another term. But you haven't, because you just can't, you just don't care. Anyway, so that's him. So let's have a look at the guy who's taken over. See, I imagine that this guy who's coming in now again as police commissioner was probably fuming when Andrew got in, because he's been the police crime commissioner before and for a while. He's got experience. He's not just, I presume he's not just there just for his own benefit. I mean, who knows? Maybe his Twitter feed is the same. I doubt it, but maybe it is. Let's have a look at him. So this is the guy. This is Clive Grunshaw, and he is, it says here he's former Lancashire Police and Crime Commissioner, but he is the new one now. So he lost 4 years of being Police and Crime Commissioner, and now he's back. So will he be any better? I don't know. I mean, I honestly just don't know enough about him to know, whether he's any good or not. I don't think he lost last time because of whether he was good or not. I think it was more to do with the whole Brexit thing and this sort of Boris Johnson taking over all the red wall, etc. Let's have a little look for him. A little look at him. So he's a British Labour Party politician who served as Police and Crime Commissioner. Oh, they've already updated. They're quite quick on Wikipedia, aren't they? So he served as Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire from 2012 to 2021, and then again from 2024. So I'm presuming it's like an instant, that is he immediately taken over this role again, or is there a passing over sort of, do they have to a passing over period? I mean, I don't know whether it's from today. So he was the first person to hold the post of Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire, and he was elected on the 15th of November 2012 and re-elected in 2016. Oh, he's a former milkman, bless him. So a former milkman said it was a new era for policing. However, he admitted that turnout was disappointing. So this is a new position then, isn't it? It's not a position that's always been there. if he was the first one, and he was elected in 2012. So he also stood unsuccessfully as the Labour Party candidate for Lancaster and Fleetwood constituency at the 2010 general election. So November 2015 marked 3 years since the first Police and Crime Commissioner elections. During the year, Grunshaw was a prominent campaigner in opposing proposed changes to the way police forces are funded. Well, you know, I've been saying that all the time. It's the funding that's all wrong with the police in the UK. So, you know, all that money that was gone to Ukraine and, you know, to kill people, or to Palestine, all that money. But there's no money to, you know, fund the police force and actually keep people safe, etc. Anyway, he was opposing proposed changes to the way police forces are funded, which would have seen Lancashire Constabulary lose £24.5 million. What? Minister of State for Policing Mike Penning MP was forced to admit to MPs that a statistical error was made in the data used and paused the process pending the further review. Oh, there's some controversy though, expenses controversy. So in December 2012, a Freedom of Information request uncovered information relating to expenses claimed by Clive Grunshaw, which has caused some political opponents to demand his resignation. It was alleged that he had claimed mileage twice for meetings which took place at the same time, suggesting in one example that he had driven from his Fleetwood home for Preston an hour apart for 2 separate meetings. I wouldn't imagine that's an awful lot of money, to be fair. You know, the mileage, you know, in the scale of things, how much money would that be, even if it was? Anyway, he said, at no point have I willfully submitted claims which I know to be untrue. Clearly, there are overlaps in times on some of the claims, and this is what is so disappointed. The claims are genuinely intentioned, but my process appeared to have been flawed. Don't know. Anyway, there was there was an investigation by the IPCC, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, and that found that while errors had been made in expense claims, these were due to carelessness rather than dishonest intent on the part of Mr. Grunshaw. The Commissioner criticised the length of time the review took. Mr. Grunshaw said it has taken too long to investigate, and the IPCC has taken way too long to publish a report. And that's interesting. I wonder how much it was. It doesn't say how much it was. And, you know, it can't have been a lot of money if it was mileage. You know, it's not going to be like thousands, is it? I wouldn't imagine. But anyway. Okay, so there you go. He's back. Anyway, he's back. He's back. Clive Grunshaw's back. I think I had another one I was going to look at, a little bit of information about him. Let's have a look at the results. So he won quite convincingly, I think. These were just the Burnley results. Oh, where's the... I've got the full results somewhere. Hang on. Yeah, so the full result. So we had Neil Darby, who was Liberal Democrats, and he got 51,252 votes. Then Clive Grunshaw, Labour and Cooperative Party, got 135,000 votes, 135,638. And Andrew Snowden, the Conservative and Unionist Party, he got 101,200. 281 votes. So it was a convincing win for Clive Grunshaw. He's received 34,000 more votes than Andrew. So, you know, I don't think you could think it was a close, it's not a close result, is it? Anyway, just let me say hello to anyone who's coming. Hi, Teresa. Charlie. Thank you. Charlie sent me those election results. Thank you, Wally. Yeah. Wally, what a plonker. Oh, dear. I'm not going to, can't read yours out, David. Yeah, Mr. Nobby. Nobby. Hi, Amanda Jane. I think we universally, whatever your politics are, I think we universally agreed that we don't like Mr. Snowden very much. Hi, ACW. The 8th of May. Right, okay. I mean, you know, he's put a brave face on it, but he will be gutted. Who's he going to boast to now? Who's going to, you know, how's he going to brag and do those sort of Top Gun type videos that he was doing, you know, with the police and everything, this sort of Rishi Sunak style shite. Like, you know, it's all just videos and no substance. But I don't know, Ocean, if he's a Mason or not, whoever. I don't take any interest in Masons, to be honest, but I don't know. Hi, Simon. Hi, Amethyst. So that was one good result. Now, there's been a lot of, obviously, we've had quite a lot. I don't know what you've been following or what you haven't been following about the elections. Of course, the big result will be tomorrow. Hi, Silver Soul. The big result will be tomorrow in the London mayor election. You know, I know that a lot of people aren't keen on Mr. Khan. I don't live in London. I don't know much about. I think the ULEZ thing has been a big problem, hasn't it, in London? So we won't get that result till tomorrow to see if Sadiq Khan has hung on or not. Because some people are saying, even in the Labour Party, saying that he may not have won, and that other woman, Susan, I think her name is, may have won. But we'll find that out tomorrow, okay? So, but I just want to tell you some of the other results, or show you some of the other results that are interesting. You know, so the first sort of big result that came out was Labour won the Blackpool South by-election. So, because in the middle of all these local elections, there was a by-election going on. I can't remember what happened to the previous incumbent in Blackpool South, was a Tory. It was a Tory. And who was it? Who was the previous incumbent there? I can't remember. Anyway, let's have a look what happened there. Well, Labour won. Spoiler. And I think they've
votes for each candidate is as follows. Black, Stephen Justin, commonly known as Stephen, Independent, 163. Butcher, Mark Anthony, Reform UK, 3,101.
So another thing that's come out of these elections is Reform, although they haven't won any councillors or anything, but they've done quite well. So I know a lot of people who are disaffected with the Tory party have voted Reform. And they've done quite well, but that I don't, as far as I know, they haven't actually got any councillors yet. And of course, they've got one MP, which is Neanderthal, I was going to call him. So that's what people call him, like, because he's like the Neanderthal man, isn't he? Lee Anderson, who now has been member of the Labour Party, first of all. Then he was kicked out of the Labour Party for being sexist. And he then went and joined the Tory party. And then he got fed up with the Tory party, and now he's in Reform Party. So that's the MP. They have got that one MP at the moment until the next election. We have to see if he gets voted in again at the next election. But he's gone to Reform now. So that Reform guy there got 3,000 and something, was it? Let's just listen again.
Butcher, Mark Anthony, Reform UK, 3,101. Cregan, Andrew Kevin, Liberal Democrats, 387. Hope Allen, commonly known as Howling Lord, the official monster raving loony party, 121.
I love there's the official monster raving loony party. I didn't know they were still going, but he's got 121 votes. Now, I reckon there might have been a bit of tactical voting here because I noticed the Liberal Democrats didn't get many votes, did they? So it might have been a little bit of a tactical vote going on there.
Jones David, Conservative Party candidate, 3,218. Knight Kim Sherry, Alliance for Democracy and...
Sorry, I just want to say, so the Conservative guy only got around the same amount of votes as the Reform Party guy, 3,000 something. It's interesting.
Freedom, 147. Sharp, Damon Lee, New Open, Non-Political Organised Leadership, 45. Thomas Benjamin Scott, commonly known as Ben, Green Party, 368. Webb Christopher Paul, commonly known as Chris, Labour Party, 10,825.
So this was a massive result for Labour because they've never won this constituency before, I don't think, or certainly not for many, many years. So that was a big thing.
The number of ballot papers rejected is as follows. Did not bear the official mark, 0. Voting for more than one candidate, 16. Writing unmarked by which the vote could be identified, 0. Unmarked to avoid for uncertainty, 57. I declare that Christopher Paul Webb is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Blackpool South constituency.
Oh, that's interesting. So Charlie's telling me that the Monster Loony Party want to introduce silent fireworks to help nervous dogs. Oh, there you go. That I think I might, if I was there, I'd probably vote for them because that's a really good idea. But of course, they could join up with one of the other parties, couldn't they? They could put their votes with the other parties. Anyway, so that was a really big result for Labour. Now, I mean, so that started off quite well. Now, a slightly worse result for Labour, but slightly better for Sunak, was this one.
Looking for car rental with no surprises?
Sorry.
Travel with peace of mind with Centauro, with full cover.
I've got a message for the Labour.
Right, you're going to see Snaky Sunak speaking now. Oh my God, this guy, he's just oblivious to everything. So this mayor was, anyway, let's just listen to what he's got to say.
The party too, because they know that they had to win here in order to win a general election. They know that. They assumed that Tees Valley would just stroll back to them, but it didn't. It didn't. People knew that they couldn't be taken for granted. They knew that it was Ben and the Conservatives that delivered for them, and they stuck with you in this election. And I know that come the general election, they're going to stick with us too.
Can you see the people at the back? They don't even like him. Now, we've got to remember about Rishi Sunak. He's a man who's never been elected for anything. Even his own party did not vote for him. And I'll tell you what, I cannot wait for the next general election because he's going down. People don't like him and he's oblivious to it. Well, he doesn't care because he's in his little bubble. Nobody voted for him. Nobody wants him to be Prime Minister. His own party don't want him to be Prime Minister. But he still carries on hanging on for as long as possible. Now, in this, was it Tees Valley, the mayor here, let's just listen one more time to Rishi.
I've got a message for the Labour Party too, because they know that they had to win here in order
Norman
to win a
wisdom,
general
yeah.
election. They know that. They assumed that Tees Valley would just stroll back to them, but it didn't. It didn't. People knew that they couldn't be taken for granted. They knew that it was Ben and the Conservatives that delivered for them, and they stuck with you in this election. And I know that come the general election, they're going to stick with us too, because they don't want to be taken for granted, and they know that it's you and it's the Conservatives that are building a brighter future for Teesside and a brighter future for Britain. Congratulations.
So the thing is,
that was the real message of the elections we've had so far.
They voted
as you say, there's clearly a lot of bright spots for Labour, whether it's winning mayor.
That mayor in Teesside, he's like a very for personality mayor, you know, he's popular. And when they fought this campaign, they didn't even put Conservative on their leaflets. When they went out and did their leaflets and their leafleting and that, they didn't even put Conservative on there. And the guy, when he didn't wear a rosette. Now, I don't know if I can find the little video that I watched where they were asking him, where's your rosette? You know, normally, you know, Andrew Snowden, he had his blue rosette on, even though he'd lost. And they asked the guy, you know, where's your rosette? And he said, oh, I couldn't find it, or whatever. So Sophie Ridge said to him, well, you know, couldn't they have found one? Didn't somebody else have one that you could have worn? And he said, oh, we had a look in a few boxes, but there were no rosettes. He's dissociated himself from the Tory party. That's what Rishi Sunak fails to tell everyone. And he has also said that if Keir Starmer wins the next election, he will work with Keir Starmer, because what he is, he's there to be mayor. He lives in that constituency, and he's going to be mayor, but he doesn't, although he is a Conservative, I don't think it would matter to him who was in power. He would work with anyone because he's interested in working for Teesside, and that's why he's won, because he's obviously been quite a good mayor. But, you know, so Rishi Sunak's trying to make out it's because of, you know, people know that it's the Conservative Party that they want. What a load of rubbish. What a load of rubbish. So he's hanging on, and he's trying to, sort of, let's see if I can see this one.
That's why we love freelancers. Fiverr. It's a marketplace that has the world's best.
I've got a message for the Labour Party too, because they know that they had to win here in order to win a general election. They know that. They assumed that Tees Valley would just stroll back to them.
Oh, it's the same video. There was a video where he went to sort of, you know, shake hands with the guy, and the guy was really quite distant from him. I think the guy's just, look, I'm mayor, you're a crap prime minister, so I don't care about you. I'm just happy that I'm mayor. So that was interesting. Then so there's been a couple of interesting things, but that was good for the Tories. They were sort of half expected not to win that. But then they won. What was the other? Let's have a look at Snakey talking here.
Looking for car rental with no surprises? Travel with peace of mind with Centauro. With full cover.
Well, obviously, it's disappointing to lose good, hardworking Conservative councillors, and I'm grateful to them for all their service in local government, keeping council tax low and delivering services for local people. But we've still got lots of results to come as well. And there are also things that I would point to. Harlow, for example, where Keir Starmer held a rally just on Wednesday saying that was a place that he had to win to be on track to win a general election. That hasn't happened, and indeed we're still waiting for the result in the Tees Valley mayoralty just near to here, which is obviously a very important test as well.
Yeah, so he's trying to put a brave
humanitarian action that's needed.
People do, don't they? This is Yvette Cooper talking.
Position, or you're listening and changing, or do you think that you're on the right course already?
So I think we have to recognise the strength of feeling on this issue, and I think we always take the view in the Labour Party that we need to earn every vote, and therefore we have to always listen and reflect when we lose votes in any area.
Right, so what she's talking about there is there is a problem for Labour at the moment. The war in Gaza is a big problem because in Oldham, which traditionally Labour would have won, they didn't, basically, or their support went down, and probably in lots of other places because there's so much, the Muslim voters, obviously a lot of them would normally perhaps gravitate towards the Labour Party, though a lot vote for Conservatives as well. The support for Labour has waned because of their stance on the war in Gaza, because they're not demanding an immediate ceasefire, but neither are the Conservatives. So I personally think that will affect, both Conservatives and Labour, because people out there, Muslims out there who would normally vote for them, they're not happy with either of the parties because obviously they want a ceasefire in Gaza. They don't, they don't want us sending money to Israel or supporting Israel. So that has caused a problem, I think, for Keir Starmer. I don't know what he's going to do about that. I don't know, who knows what's going to happen before the next election, if there'll be any movement on that war or not. It doesn't look like it, does it? I mean, it's the sort of war that can't be won, really, because it's, there is no answer. Feels like there is no answer, except for this sort of two-state solution that people talk about. But, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know enough about it really to comment on it. But all I know is it's foul what's been going on from both sides. It's foul what Hamas did, and it's foul what Israel are doing. So just all awful. So that's caused a lot of problems, and this has led to these local elections has been a lot more independent. People standing independently. So obviously that spreads the vote a lot. So people that are disaffected with both, well, you've got the Reform Party that's disaffected with the Conservatives. And then you've got other independents, that are disaffected with Labour or whatever. And then the Green Party apparently has done quite well overall, over Britain. So, yeah. It's interesting. Well, I find it interesting because I do find politics interesting, but it's interesting how things have changed. Politics has changed, but I'm just glad to see the end of this sort of, I will be glad to see the end of this sort of politics as a game type thing. These politicians that are just not really doing it because they care about Britain, not doing it because they care about British people or they care about Britain's reputation, international reputation and how Britain is viewed. But people who just in it, it's almost just like a game that they're playing, just in it to be Prime Minister just for the fun of it, and talking of which, so David Cameron, who, as we know, is a failed Prime Minister. I mean, how did David Cameron, how could he be made for a Lord? And then, he was just literally phoned up. Charlie Boy phoned him up, made him a Lord. And then they made him the Foreign Policy Minister. He's off at the moment in Ukraine or whatever, saying we've got to send more money to Ukraine. He's now Lord Cameron. He was one of the worst prime ministers we ever had because he brought about all this Brexit debacle, by, he had the referendum and then he just sort of bailed out, didn't he? He just bailed out and left Britain to go, what did he ever do that was good for Britain? And now he's Lord Cameron and going on, bleating on about foreign policy and everything, like he's, like he was good, and he was never good. And he said, oh, God, listening to his comments, and you just think, well, what do what, is it me? Am I missing something? Who was the last Prime Minister that actually did anything good? who was the last Prime Minister who actually did anything good for Britain, that improved Britain? When was the last time Britain was ever improved? It's all gone wrong. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat now a bit. Yeah, well, don't even get me started about the refugees and that. They can take people in and give them refugee status just like that when it suits them. Hi, Maria. Winston Churchill, yeah, maybe the last British Prime Minister that did anything good. Well, no, then we've got, I suppose, the bringing in, after the war as well, when we had Clement Attlee and that. I suppose we got to really go that far back to think of what was the last decent British Prime Minister. I don't know. Right, let's have a look at these results. So, just interesting to see what it says in like on the American news and stuff like that is interesting, I suppose. Sorry. Right. Let's go back here. So I'm trying to look for, because I've been watching. Right. So they've had another win, Labour, in in his. So the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, his constituency, which is sort of up in the north somewhere, Labour have won. The mayor there is now Labour. But let me see it's in Yorkshire. How has he got a constituency in Yorkshire? I bet he's never even been there. When has he ever gone to Yorkshire? He's just a rich boy. So the Right Honourable Rishi Sunak is a Conservative MP for Richmond in Yorkshire. And he's been an MP since the 7th of May 2015. Now, in his own constituency, Labour have won the mayoralty there. Labour have become the mayor there. So that's what we're going to have a look what Keir Starmer has got to say about that. So Keir Starmer has now demanded a general election. Well, he won't get one, but I doubt very much if Rishi Sunak will go to a general election now before November.
Parliamentary seat, that's a 26% swing. That's a huge swing. And it's the fifth swing of over 20% in by-elections that we've had in recent months and years. So it's not a one-off. We've also won in places across the country like Hartlepool, where we needed to win, Rushmore in the south, which is very important to us, Redditch, a bellwether seat. There are seats like Carlow where we lost by a handful of votes. And of course, we need to work harder because we want to win across the whole of the country. But this is a good set of results for us. And there's no denying that the mood of the country now is for change. And I think it's for the Prime Minister to allow the country to express that change now in a general election.
What's costing you support there? How much do you think the Middle East position is factoring into this?
Look, there are some places where that's a very strong factor, and I understand that and respect that. Where we have lost votes, we will earn them back through hard work, just as we have done on many other issues. But I don't think that that can really shut out the fact that this is a very good set of results for the Labour Party. Vindication of the hard work we've done over 4 long years to change the Labour Party. This is a fundamentally different party to the party that fought in 2019, and you're seeing that, I think, in the results across the country.
So that was Keir Starmer, Maria, if you were asking who that was. So that's Keir Starmer. He's the leader of the Labour Party. Hi, Simon. Hi, Heather. That wasn't the video I was looking for. Let me see if I can find the. Where's the other one? Oh, we'll have a look at this one. This is. Now, the problem as well for Labour is, although they're of course done well, if this was repeated in the general election, they would be still short of an overall majority. So it's not that brilliant for them. It's good for them, but it's not as brilliant as it should be, because if it was translated, if it was translated into a general election, wouldn't necessarily win an overall majority. Right, I want to show you this, because I find this really interesting. I think this is going to be this is going to happen very often now in politics. So this guy who won in Tees Valley, Ben Houchen, even though he's a Tory and he won, he's the guy who they call him sort of Trump-esque, because he acts on his personality, and they think he's got this result again because of his personality. And so he's the mayor of Tees Valley. Where is it now? Oh, God. Where is it? Oh, the other thing that I wanted to tell you, this clown, Boris Johnson, do you know he brought in the new, it's a new law now, isn't it, that to vote you have to take your photo ID with you, otherwise you can't vote. He didn't take his photo ID with him, so he went to vote. Boris Johnson went to vote, and he couldn't vote because he didn't take his photo ID. I mean, it could only happen to him, couldn't it? Do you think people would just say, oh, well, that's all right, we know who you are? Anyway, they wouldn't let him in and they wouldn't let him vote. I mean, I presume he went home and got it, and he went back, and he presumably he went back and voted. Let me just check, because you just say everything everything that man does is just a joke, isn't it? I mean, and he was Prime Minister. He was Prime Minister of Britain. So he tweeted this morning, the polls are open, vote Conservative today. And then he got turned away after forgetting his ID. Let's have a look at it. So Boris Johnson turned away from polling station after forgetting ID. What? He's another knob. So as first reported by Sky News, he returned later with the necessary ID. Oh, so he did go home and get it, and he was able to vote. He cast his ballot in South Oxfordshire, where the voters are choosing a police and crime commissioner. Oh, they're choosing one there as well. So new rules requiring photo ID to vote were introduced by Mr. Johnson's government in the Elections Act 2022. And the change was rolled out last year with local elections in May 2023, the first time voters needed to show ID. And according to the Electoral Commission, around 14,000 people were unable to vote in last year's local elections in England as a result of the new rules. But there are 22 acceptable forms of ID, including passports, driving licenses, older or disabled persons' bus passes, and Oyster 60 Plus cards. And people who are registered to vote can also apply for a free document known as a voter authority certificate. Now, I'm not against the ID thing, to be honest, because, you know, living in Spain, you've always got to have photo ID with you. It is the law in Spain, not only to vote, but, you know, if you were stopped by the police for anything and you didn't have any photo ID with you, you know, that is a fine. Definitely, you're supposed to carry photo ID. So I've been doing it for so long now, I don't even think of it. I think it's a good thing, to be honest. I don't think it's a bad thing. Why shouldn't you carry ID? You know, why shouldn't people, you know, why, if you've got nothing to hide, why should you even be worried about carrying ID? But just typical, isn't it? Typical of Boris Johnson. The rules don't apply to him. He makes the rules, but they don't apply to him. So he's not taking his photo ID with him to vote, and probably thought they would just say, oh, well, it's Boris Johnson, obviously. But anyway, they made him go home and get his photo ID. So, but it's just typical to me of him. Rules don't apply for him. Make the rules during COVID. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. But, oh, no, I can do it. I can have party after party and do whatever the hell I want. I mean, what even happened to Partygate? You know, has he been prosecuted, or, you know, what has happened? That's sort of just gone all quiet and brushed under the carpet. You know, this is Boris Johnson, a man who rules don't apply to, makes the rules for everybody else, but rules don't apply to him. Horrible man. Anyway. I know a lot of people think the sun shines out of his ass, but I'm not one of them, I'm afraid. Right, what else did I want to tell you? I'll just go through all these election results. So, yeah, so what do you think about the, you know, do you think, you know, is that going to be a problem for Labour with this war in Israel and the Muslim vote and that? Well, be interesting to see what happens tomorrow when the result comes out from London. I think if Sadiq Khan does not win in London, that will be a big problem for Labour. Big, massive problem, obviously. Everyone will be looking at that with bated breath because the Conservatives, oh my God, they'd be so happy, wouldn't they, if Sadiq Khan didn't win in London, the mayoralty or whatever they call it. So, you know. Right, let's see what other results we've got. Oh, I'm still sharing Boris. I think I'll just take his face off because I don't really want to look at it anymore.
It's not a one-off. We've also won in places across the country like Hartlepool, where we needed to win, Rushmore in the south, which is very important to us, Redditch, a bellwether seat. There are seats like Harlow where we lost by a handful of votes, and of course we need...
Right, sorry, I wanted to put something else on now. Let's have a look at the analysis.
Where we are with all of these results so far, as you can see on the bottom left there, 51 so far of these councils counted. Quite a lot of red there. And remember, at the start...
there's a lot of red. Of
this process. There were rather a lot of blue, rather a lot more blue than you can see there. In particular, let's have a look at a couple of these councils here. For instance, Rushmore and Hyndburn. So Hyndburn, that was Labour gaining control there. But just look at the numbers. So Labour up 4, the Conservatives down 5, and the Green Party up 1 as well. It's another one of these narratives here beneath the surface. The Green Party really doing quite well and perhaps outperforming the Lib Dems, for instance. I mean, we haven't really seen. We're going to, you know, in the next few hours, actually get some of those southwest seats where it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lib Dems do. But then in Rushmore, just look at this. I mean, this was not somewhere which actually in the last 50 years, the Labour Party have had control of. Rushmore, we're talking here about a seat down on the M3, so in the south and kind of Farnborough area. And look at this red line, okay? So we're going back to 1995 here. And just look, throughout that period, even in that kind of post-late Tony Blair New Labour period, this red line, the Labour share here, was always low, and it's just climbed up in the last few elections. And there it is now with the Labour majority in Rushmore. So it's just, you know, we're seeing here actually kind of unprecedented results, and that is showing you, underlining the national swing. But there are other stories going on at the same time. For instance, in some of these councils, where it looks on the face of it like Labour have obviously continued to control Blackburn, the number of Labour seats has gone down, and Labour have lost in Oldham as well. And part of the explanation there...
Yeah, so this is the thing for Labour that's going to be a problem with the Muslim vote. Now, that Blackburn and Darwin, of course, that is part of the area where Mr. Aidley is the coroner for that area, you know, for Blackburn and Darwin. And that's part of the area that Mr. Snowden will have been commissioner for.
There might be, or it does look like, if you look at the share of the vote, okay, and the change in the share of the vote based on the percentage of Muslim population within the different wards. So the higher the Muslim population in each ward, the further we go along here. And if you look in areas where there's relatively low Muslim population, Labour are gaining. In areas where there's high Muslim population, so over 5%, Labour are losing. And part of what you're seeing there looks like a backlash against the Gaza policies that Keir Starmer and
It's just that I wonder then, who are they voting for? Or are they just not voting? Because, you know, there's no point in them voting from the Conservatives, because the Conservatives have the same view over Gaza. You know, Gaza, the more or less Gaza, except for independent parties, the mainstream parties all take the same view, don't they? You know, of supporting the war and not being vociferous enough for a ceasefire. So I'm just wondering that if this is, well, it's obviously is right, because he's showing the information for it. If the Muslims are voting less for Labour, who are they voting for then? Are they voting for independence, or are they just not voting? You know, it'd be interesting to know that. And what will that happen in the general election as well, or when it comes to the general election? If the war is, I don't know, if there's been some progress, or if they think, oh no, they're just determined to vote for Labour and get Rishi Sunak out. You know, that'd be it's an interesting anomaly, though, isn't it?
David Lammy have been espousing. But when you look at the big picture here, so taking all of those results, this is really the thing to remember here. All those numbers that you're seeing at the bottom of the screen, they are comparing the results that we've got this time around with 2021. That's when most of these seats were being contested last time around. Okay, and so compared with that, that was a really strong election, strong local election for the Conservative Party. Compared with that, the Conservatives down very sharply indeed, Labour up. But here's the interesting comparison. Compared with 2023, the Conservatives are down a bit, so it's not good for Rishi Sunak at all. And remember, 2023, that was a good election for the Labour Party. Not good for the Conservatives, terrible for the Conservative Party, but the Labour Party down a little bit as well. And that's going to be something that might concern Keir Starmer. That was actually in positive territory the last time we looked at it. So that's going to be an interesting one to see just how that evolves, because it's not just the comparison with 2021, is it? It's the comparison with last time when Labour was polling at, you know, with a 20-point gap on the Conservatives.
Yeah,
history. Their leader, Ed Davey, hoping for Tory extinction.
Well, I think the Liberal Party only won. They've not done very well, the Liberal Democrats, but they were celebrating this, this particular win. But there's been a lot of tactical voting, I think, deliberately tactical.
As the Tories dropped to a record low. Conservatives hemorrhaging votes, but not all move into the Labour column as support scattered to smaller parties, suggesting a plague on both the main parties' houses, as well as signs Labour's stance on Gaza is perhaps costing them dear.
You think we could do it? Yeah!
And nowhere more disappointing than Harlow. Keir Starmer told us on the eve of the vote he had to win here. Insiders telling me they're gutted not to get this Essex target over the line. But in the Tees Valley mayoral race, symbolic crumbs of comfort for Sunak.
It's absolutely great to be here with your re-elected Mayor of Teesside.
A victory he can claim. But Gorlin, the only place the PM could turn up today, was a mayoral contest where he was airbrushed from the campaign. That now all forgotten.
It's also about this man next to me, because I could not have delivered the things that we've delivered in this region without you, Prime Minister.
Liar. Liar.
Sunak fighting a battle on multiple fronts. The reform vote share eating into Tory support.
Obviously, it's disappointing to lose.
You know, this is the Winnie Pooh Prime Minister greeting the troops. Could you imagine him? I mean, it just made me laugh once. I saw they were showing a Zoom call between him and Zelensky. You've got Zelensky who always wears his bloody, you know, khaki clothes and everything, as if he's sort of, though he does come over a little bit more scary than Rishi Sunak. And Rishi Sunak was sat there in his jumper and his bloody Christmas mug talking to him. He's just a joke, this man, honestly. You know, just when I thought Liz Truss was a joke, I thought Boris Johnson was a joke, and then this man is even worse.
Good, hard-working Conservative councillors, and I'm grateful to them for all their service in local government, keeping council tax low and delivering services for local people. But we've still got lots of results to come as well.
The Tories have had a terrible night. One cabinet minister admitting to me it's only been Starmer's inability to turn Tory losses into direct Labour gains that have given the Prime Minister a little bit of breathing space. Meanwhile, Labour insiders tell me that their wins in key battlegrounds show they are on course to win a majority at a general election. But what's clear from all of it is Labour haven't yet sealed the deal. You, the voters, seem clear that the government is the problem, but are you convinced that Keir Starmer's the solution? Sky News' election projection on vote share puts Labour on course to be the largest party in the next parliament, but short of an outright majority. Labour will hope that voters choosing smaller parties and independents now will flock back when it comes to the national vote, but they simply don't know. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
Right, let's get the results so far from our data editor, Ed Conway, and the current state of the parties, Ed.
Thanks, Sophie. Well, first of all, let's just have a look at where we are, really. Obviously, there have been all sorts of different results that we've had, all the way from that by-election result. But really, the main action so far today has been about this. It's been about the changes in councils, in those council elections we've had so far. And what this shows you is just how much churn there's been below the surface. So you don't actually get these numbers at the bottom of the screen because you see the total net change. What you don't see is that Labour actually gained 241, but in the meantime lost 71 seats. What you don't see is the Conservatives.
Is it just me, or is standing over the minus 415 seats for the Conservatives as if you don't want us to see that?
Conservatives gained 4 and then lost 415. Yeah. I mean, not much of a net change there. But all the same, the Lib Dems are pretty good showing here. Green's doing very well indeed. Other parties, so including independents, up by 115 and then losing 13. And that's one of the big stories here. One of the big stories being that Labour lost 71 seats, and quite a few of them in areas where previously they might have hoped to win them. Why is that? Well, part of the pattern we can see is evinced by this. This shows you, we've looked at ward level data and broken it down and looked at areas with a low Muslim population and then a higher Muslim population, so over 20% Muslim population in each of these wards. And what you can see in areas where you have under 5% Muslim population, a slight increase in the Labour vote, and then going down to a big fall.
It does make me laugh, this, but I don't know if you remember, was it Peter Snow who used to do these sort of, the sort of walking over, get these big graphs up and walk over and show you what the result is. Was it Peter Snow who used to do it? Some guy who used to do it years ago. This is the new one.
In higher proportions, Muslim population areas there. underlining the fact there is this disaffection with Labour foreign policy, particularly in relation to Gaza right now. And you can see that in those overall numbers. I'll come back to that in a second, actually.
Yeah,
but there's another thing, another shift that we've seen recently. It's this shift in areas that were previously strong Brexit voting areas that did go to the Conservatives are now shifting back to the Labour Party. So look at this. This is Nuneaton and Bedworth, Cannock Chase as well. It's a really similar story here. So look at the number of the seats. And remember here, this is a boundary change. So all of those seats were up for grabs. In Nuneaton and Bedworth, Conservatives down by 14, Labour up by 15. So you can see pretty much a swap there. And same thing in Cannock Chase as well. Conservatives down 11, Labour up 11. And in both cases, Labour gaining control from the Conservatives. So you are seeing something, particularly in the West Midlands there, that reverts. And looking.
And what were the results in Scotland? I'm not sure how it went in Scotland. Why is he not mentioning Scotland?
That kind of reversion. These are the seats, or rather the councils, that the Conservatives were defending in these elections here. So at the start of this contest, I'll get out of the way so you can see it. At the start of this contest, essentially all of this board was blue, all of these councils. So that puts it into context, doesn't it? And now just look at the change in colours. You know, all the way from some of Nuneaton and Bedworth, which I mentioned, all of these grey ones, that means the Conservatives losing control of those councils. Even to places like Rushmore, Redditch, Rushmore in particular, no one really necessarily expected that a seemingly safe Conservative council would go to the Labour Party there. And when you kind of look at what we're talking about here, which is comparing the areas here with 2021. So the numbers you've got on your screen are mostly comparing with the previous elections in 2021. There was a big shift, okay? So the Conservatives down by 13, Labour up by 5.4% compared with 2021. So that was the big shift. But of course, remember, the Conservatives were riding high at that point. You had this vaccine bounce, everything looking quite positive at that point for Boris Johnson, as he was. But now compare this election, this council election, local elections, with last time around, 2023. Keir Starmer looking pretty punchy at that point, almost a 20-point margin between the two parties at that point. And the difference here, the Conservatives down by 2.5%, but actually Labour down by 1.2%. And that's partly what I think explains what you see in this picture. And in Beth's package a moment ago, she referred to this, the national equivalent votes. This goes all the way back to the 1990s. Just look at the red, look at Labour, actually falling a touch there, down to 35% here. But really the big action and the most significant kind of trend is the Conservatives down to 26%. That's the lowest they've been, actually kind of similar more or less in 2013, but you've really got to go back to the kind of mid-90s to see another period when they were quite so low. The difference for the Labour Party is they are not up at those kind of levels that Tony Blair enjoyed in the mid-90s. They are still down there. However, and I think it's a big proviso, first of all, that has...
Hi, Tracy, and anybody else I might not have said hello to because I was too busy concentrating on this. I'm sure I've missed some people coming in. What was I going to say then? I think what we can gather is it was a bad night for the Conservatives and a good night for Labour. Maybe not as good as it could have been, but it is interesting to see how the independents, look at the independents, how they're coming up and becoming more popular. People are sick of, people are totally fed up, aren't they? Of conventional politics even, and they've just become disillusioned with everything. I think in Britain, they're just so miserable. They don't feel, where's, like years ago, like when I was young, our generation, I don't know, things kept improving, didn't they? Whether it was Conservative or Labour, things improved after the war. To what the homes fit for heroes after the war, and then bringing in the National Health Service and bringing in sort of benefits and things for, don't forget benefits were originally brought in to help people get through hard times so they didn't have to go in the workhouse. Even in my dad's lifetime, people would go in the workhouse if they didn't have the money to pay the rent or whatever. I mean, it's within living memory, within 100 years ago that was happening to people. And so after the war brought a lot of hope, didn't it? And a lot of changes, no matter which political party was in power, because they had to change, because, you know, people were sick of it and people had fought for their country and they'd come back and they weren't going to accept all that crap anymore. So things started to improve, didn't they, after the war? And they carried on improving. But in the last 13 years, they've just gone down again. You know, we're in a situation where children have got rickets or childhood diseases haven't been seen for years, have come back. You know, it's the gap between the rich and the poor is so big, you know, and people have got no hope. You know, people don't feel that they can get out of situations. You know, for me, if I lived in this town now, I wouldn't have been able to, you know, escape from my life and go to university and do, you know, because I couldn't have afforded it. My parents couldn't afford it, you know, to send me to university. I had to pay my own way through university and with the help of grants, you know, because when I went to university, there was still grant, you know, first of all, you didn't have to pay for your course and that. And then second of all, you would get grants. And I got a little bit more with the grant because I was a mature student, because I was in my late 20s when I went back to university. I couldn't do that now. You know, if I wanted to go to university now, I'd have to pay the fees. And, you know, I wouldn't get a grant, I'd get loans that eventually you'd have to pay back. And, you know, so students are starting off after their degrees with massive debt as well. So it's just all gone like backwards, hasn't it? And the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. And Britain is just going downhill, I think. So it just needs a stop to that. Just needs to start, you know, getting its reputation back and being, it was always thought of as a decent country, and now I don't think it is. Oh, sorry, is that finished? This is what upsets me about Britain.
When I pushed on with Reform UK.
Oh, this is Richard Tice, the Reform guy. A lot of people voted for him.
They're not laughing now. They're absolutely terrified.
It's a different, though, isn't it? Saying you've got an ambition to do something and saying you think you're going to do it. I mean, I can have an ambition to, like, you know, speak fluent French tomorrow, but it's not going to happen, is it? No.
If you haven't got any ambition, you're never going to make progress. And we're ambitious, and we're working out plans how you get that. That's the difference.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Richard Tice.
Leader of Reform. Talking, that might have been interesting.
Still to come on the.
Wonder if I can see that again.
Politician in the country, but he thought he'd left frontline politics. If he wants to come back into it, it's a big decision.
Does he want to come back?
Well,
you must know.
Let's wait and see. The clock is ticking because we could be facing a summer election, although most people expect it to be in the autumn. Whenever it is, we'll be ready. We're standing 630 seats, and the truth is, if people want reform, if they want change, you've got to vote for it.
You're supposed to be straight talkers.
I'm a straight talker.
Go on, tell us what Nigel Farage is thinking then.
You have to ask him. It's in his mind, not in my mind.
You know. Come on.
No, you'll have to ask him.
It's not a no.
You'll have to ask him. It's at the end of the day, it's his decision. It's not my decision. I can't order him to do this or that. I welcome the more help we can get, the better, because it's a big job, and you know this is a multi-election project. We think we can get more votes than the Tories in terms of votes cast at this general election, and then we will be the opposition that's taking on Labour in 28, 29. That's the direction of travel.
You really, really, hand on heart, think that.
If you've got no ambition in life, then you ain't going to succeed. It's as simple as that, whether it's in business or whether it's in politics. The Tories laughed at me 3 years ago when I pushed on with Reform UK. They're not laughing now. They're absolutely terrified.
It's a different, though, isn't it? Saying you've got an ambition to do something and saying you think you're going to do it. I mean, I can have an ambition to, like, you know, speak fluent French tomorrow, but it's not going to happen, is it? No.
If you haven't got any ambition, you're never going to make progress. And we're ambitious, and we're working out plans how you get.
Yeah, so this Richard Tice and the Reform Party, they're a big threat to the Conservative Party, a massive threat, because I think the Conservative Party is sort of in meltdown, isn't it? Can't decide whether it's going to the right or whether it's going to the left. It got rid of all its, in my honest opinion, and is when Brexit happened and they got rid of all their good politicians, you know, all their experienced politicians, because most of the good politicians in the Conservative Party were not pro-Brexit. They were anti-Brexit. They were Remainers, not, you know, Leaver, Brexiteers. So they were got rid of because they didn't want any dissenting voices in the party. But I think the Conservatives did something, you know, that was a wrong thing that they did, because by getting rid of their good politicians, they're just left with the dregs now. You know, and that's what I call it, dregs politics. Because they had to get rid of the good ones because they were, you know, as I say, they were Remainers. Didn't want them in there, no dissenting voices, get rid of them. And they're just left with these nodding dogs, like, and most of them are like rabid right wing, you know, and Brexit has not been good for Britain. I don't care what anyone says. Britain has not prospered under Brexit, and I don't know why anyone thought it ever would. But it hasn't. It's almost like masochism, Brexit. What they, you know, it's like chopping off your arm, you know, just to lose weight or whatever. I mean, this is the biggest act of self-harm that a country's ever done in my eyes. It was just a disaster, and the only people that have done well out of Brexit are rich people. You know, and that's why all the rich people wanted Brexit. But anyway, it's too late now.
They should be worried. I mean, it's interesting. They are evidently taking votes, but as you pointed out, they're doing less well than UKIP, and Richard considered himself a at it for 20 years and still didn't get anywhere in terms of seats. You know, Nigel Farage himself is undoubtedly one of the most consequential politicians of the last few decades, because we almost certainly wouldn't have had the Brexit vote without him. But as a party to be able to win seats, they never managed to really do that. And it's unlikely. Reform is showing no evidence at all they're going to do that.
Because you were involved in the Vote Leave campaign, weren't you? You kept Farage at arm's length.
Well, I mean, Vote Leave became the official campaign, and, you know, Nigel ran.
They were the disruptor campaign.
Well, he appealed to a big part of that group of the public, the core Leave vote. And, you know, I think one of the reasons I think...
I don't know who these people are. Yeah, so this is another Labour win that was a good win for them.
Así saluda una motera a otro motero.
Ward, Claire Margaret, Labour and Cooperative Party, 181,040. And I hereby do declare that Claire Margaret Ward is duly elected.
Thank you. And I am truly humbled that the people of Derby, Derbyshire, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire have elected me to become your very first East Midlands Mayor. Throughout this campaign, I've heard your message loud and clear. You are ready for change. You've not only put your trust in me, you've also put your trust in a changed Labour Party that can now confidently and with conviction say to our proud villages, towns and cities, we are ready to lead and we are ready to deliver.
The leader of the Lib Dems in my lifetime, the kind of Charlie Kennedy.
So, as Ali says, where's all that money gone? Where's all that money gone? Boris's bus, that was on Boris's bus. You know, all the money that we were going to save, and it was going to go to the National Health Service, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, right, okay. Anyway, tomorrow will be a big day, seeing who wins the London mayoral election. I think probably Sadiq Khan will win, but with a much smaller majority than he will have had the last time. I don't know how the war in Gaza will have affected his votes. Maybe he'll get more votes for that. I don't know I can't remember what his stance is on it all. You know, it's, I don't know, basically, but we'll find out tomorrow about the London elections. So I'm going to finish soon, but I just want to show you one more time, Mr. Andrew Snowden making his goodbye speech on Twitter. Let's have a look.
Hi, I just wanted to take this time to thank every single person who has campaigned and who has voted for me to be Police and Crime Commissioner. Today wasn't our day. Today's been a difficult day for the Conservative Party, but equally we can hold our heads up high that we stunted the Labour swing across Lancashire here. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to every police officer and member of staff. Your bravery, your selfless sacrifice has been a privilege to witness whilst I've been Commissioner, and it has been an honour to serve the public in this role. But for now, I've always said, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a dad, and it's my son's second birthday tomorrow. So my immediate priority after this count is to go and get ready to barbecue for Walter's birthday in the rain tomorrow in Lancashire. So thank you to me for everyone's support and help over the last 3 years, everyone who voted for me. And I am sure with this rosette on, I'll be back soon.
I'll be back. I'll be back. It's like Terminator, isn't it? Thank you to me, he said. Thank you to me. I'll be back. Okay. That's it for tonight. So I hope you found that interesting. I think I find it interesting. I know politics is not everybody's cup of tea, but I knew you would find it interesting about Andrew Snowden not winning, if nothing else. And I will see you, if not, you know, you never know, things, there's all sorts going on, isn't there? I mean, you never know what news might come out through the night or in the morning, but I'm sure whatever happens, I'll see you again soon. So take care. Hi, Wesley. Take care and remember to live and love wisely. I hope you all voted, by the way, those of you that are in the UK. It's important to vote. Even if you go and vote for the monster raving loony party, you should vote, because it's not that long ago that people didn't have a vote, you know, so it is important to vote. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.